Okay, now for the video you've all been waiting for, how to actually rig, okay? Okay, and in this video I'm giving away some of my best kept secrets that I only taught to my students, and I'm going to give them away, and because I'm not really teaching anymore, and there's a number of tools that I'm going to go over that are going to really help you make things a lot easier, and you won't be tearing your hair out. Some of them where I had to get permission from one of my teachers who taught me a bit. I already knew a good affair about a rigging, but he definitely guided me and gave me some good advice and told me about some of the good tools that I'm going to be sharing with you. And first he this is a couple of years ago, he asked me not to tell anybody these tools because he was still making a living rigging in Second Life. He since has pretty much left Second Life and is no longer rigging, and I just asked him today, hey, do you mind if I make a video about this? And he was like, sure, go ahead. So because I had promised him that I wouldn't when he told me his secrets. So today is your lucky day. Okay, so let's first get rid of all of these. Not get rid of them. Let's just put them on their own layer. Okay, so this is the one we're going to be rigging. It has the nice edge flow. It has very few. It's the lowest, one of the lowest counts. This is the one that we did with quad remesher. It does have, we did copy over the UVs. It doesn't have the super nice smooth edge, but it doesn't have the super nice edge, but it would probably be just fine. So let's scale this up a little bit. Figure we were going to put these each on their own material so that we get a little bit better resolution. Oh, come on. Here we go. Scale it up a little bit bigger. Not too big. Make sure there's enough. It's a little too big. For a little bit of a bleed. Okay. A bleed meaning that the color can bleed outside the UVs. If you had it all the way up to the edge, you wouldn't be able to get color to bleed over the UVs when you were creating the texture. And so, okay, and then we take these. Whoops. Do the whole thing. Bring it over. Okay, so you would select the face and create a material like a Lambert to give it a different material. So now when you export out the DAE, you would have two different faces on your finished mesh. So let's close that and new, assign a favorite new material. We'll say Lambert, and we can change this to like front texture. Okay, so now they have two different materials. One on the front, one on the back. Okay. So, but you're interested in rigging. How do I rig? How do I rig? Okay, so let's go to the body. And we don't even actually have to have the skeleton visible. Okay, there are three main plugins that you're going to want to get. I've already done a video on Dora. This can come in very, very handy at times. We're not really going to be using it right now. The other one is called maxInf, and I think I did a video on that, but I'm not sure. maxInf is another free tool that you can get. It's absolutely fantastic. It will help you adjust the weights and all that good stuff. So this is something you really, 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 really want to get, and I'll show you one of the reasons why. Okay, since we have this in the A pose and it's not the T pose, is the bind pose, we need to go to MyStar. See, if I went to go to bind pose, see, goes in the T-pose. But this rig, this mesh, let's see. This mesh was in the T-pose when we exported it out. Although I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. Oh, yes it did. You can see there's a little bit of poke through here when I put it in the T-pose. The front looked okay, but the back didn't. So put it back in the A pose. Okay, we got a little bit of poke through back here. Not too bad over here. So what we could do here is you go to Control Mesh, Edit Mesh. Where is it? Hold on. Okay, yeah, there it is. It's Sculpt Geometry Tool. Okay, so you got your Sculpt Geometry Tool. Let me close this. I got it on pull along the normal. I always highly recommend anybody who's doing rigging or texturing to get yourself a Wacom pen tablet. You can find them used on eBay for like 20 bucks. And make sure it comes with the pen and the mouse. The mouse is cordless, but there's no batteries. So, yeah. So a Wacom pen tablet, or Wacom, W-A-C-O-M, is what they call it. And so with this on normal, pull, max placement distance there, I can just slowly pull it out. So no skin is poking through. There we go. Really easy to do. Okay. And you can also push. You can also, remember when I was talking about relaxing? I believe that's relax. You can relax some mesh. So, but this is already has good edge flow, so we don't really need to relax it. But yeah, you can relax it a little bit. You know, using this tool. Okay. Okay, so let's get back to rigging. Okay, so since the bind pose is in the T pose, and we want it to be in the A pose to bind, you do not want to bind skin with multiple bind poses with MyStar. It messes MyStar up. So we need to make this the bind pose, the T pose for the skeleton. So it's really easy to do. Just go MyStar, go to SkinWeight Tools, Custom Bind Pose, Create Bind Pose. See now, if we go to Bind Pose, boom. It's in the right position. Okay, and we might as well soften the edge. Normals, soften edge. So it's nice and smooth. Okay, and I recommend rigging before you duplicate any faces on the inside. And I do not recommend duplicating all the faces on the inside because that's just a waste. Just along the bottom here, a little ways in, maybe 2 edge loops in, and maybe an edge loop in here so that you got quads all the way around, and maybe an edge loop in here of the sleeves. Just go in. You don't need to duplicate all the faces in the mesh. That's just a complete waste of time. Okay, but I always recommend you rig first because you're going to be copying the weights from this to your final version that has the interior. So this way you're only rigging to something that's a single layer. It's much easier to rig. Okay, so let's open up maxInf. Okay, this is what I love about maxInf. Select your mesh body. Shift select your mesh clothes. Shift select your mesh clothing. So body first, clothing second. You can hide the skeleton. You don't need the skeleton. And you see this nice little orange transfer button? Click it. You've just rigged. You've just rigged. It's that easy. Instead of in my other videos, we see a little bit of a problem there. Instead of my other videos where you select all the bones in the skeleton, do your smooth bind, and then copy the weights over, which is still valid, and I'll show you it here in a second. This does it all in basically one click. Okay, but let's see if it gives us a little bit better result on here. So if we go to bind pose, star, go to bind pose. Okay, and then if we select that and we delete the history. Okay, so it's no longer rigged. Let's also, might as well, why is that off? Maybe that's why we had to pull it out a little bit. It should be all 0. Yeah, that's probably why we had to end up pulling this out a little bit, but that's okay. Okay. Well, let's see if it does it better this time. If we pull out click there, shift click here, and you can also do this in the inventory, or not inventory, the outliner, and transfer. Oh, see, it's still doing it. Okay, so let's see if we do the star. We can either do detach skin or delete history. Okay, now if we go to the skeleton and we go all bones select. Okay, that's 39 bones. That should be all the bones in the skeleton. Whoops. Yep, that's all the bones in the skeleton. Okay. Now I could have selected just the pelvis bone and went select hierarchy, and that would have selected all the bones as well. It's always more than one way to do things in Maya. Then you shift select your mesh top and star, smooth bind skin. These are the settings you want to use. Selected joints, closest distance. That can, since we're copying over the weights anyway, you do want to use selected joints. Classic linear doesn't matter. That's just what I use. Interactive, definitely. Weight distribution, I have it on distance. That's good. Maximum influence 4, which is the maximum influence of Second Life. That means 4 joints or bones can influence each vertice or vertex. So that could be influenced by 4 different bones right there, that vertice. And the maximum is 4. If you do 5, what's going to happen is when you upload your mesh, Second Life will prune your weights, and it might mess up your rigging, so it will look horrible. So definitely 4. Maintain max influence. I have that on. Remove unused influences off. Colorize doesn't matter. Include section and creation doesn't really matter. Drop off 4 is fine. So these are the ones that I use. But these classic linear and distance don't really matter because we're going to be copying the weights over anyway. So we go bind skin. And now it did bind it. And it does look pretty good, but look at on the side. It's horrible. Because that's just the default rigging. Okay, so now if we go to bind pose, and we can hide the skeleton again so we don't accidentally select it. Select the mesh first, select your mesh clothing second, or you could have clicked there. Oh, which one was it? It was number 1. Go there, go Maya star, smooth weight skins, or skin weights tools, copy skin weights. These are the settings I recommend using. Closest distance on surface, 1:1, normalize, and click copy. And what does it look like now? Ooh, it actually did a better job on the back. So while this in here, most of the time this will be just fine. Just selecting the 2 and clicking that, boom, you're done in 2 seconds. But this did actually do a better job. So now we don't have to worry about the back. Okay, but if you notice the little bit in here, it's a little jaggedy. And also, this is where, let me close this. Move this out of the way. Okay, now this is one of the reasons why you bought Maya Star. Is if we go to the female avatar appearance editor, go to torso, go to breast size, make her breasts really big. Now look at how jaggedy it is, and look at how it's pinched right there. Now it doesn't look too bad there, but it is actually overlapping and pinched. Okay, this is why you bought Maya Star. One of the reasons, hopefully. Okay, let's go to bind pose. Let's apply the breast size again, and you can see. Okay, now this is the tool that my mentor in Second Life, as far as rigging is concerned, and he also showed me quite a bit on creating mesh. Not necessarily a marvelous designer, but different techniques. So I learned a lot from him. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to select some vertices right here in the middle, and then increase the vertex selection. Maybe we should have done this. Maybe we should have done... and then increase the selection. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, and then you make it big. Yeah, that looks good, because we need to smooth all that. We also need to smooth this area around here too. But so let's select these. And of course we need to select these. Okay, see, those were already selected over there. Okay, and maybe a few. If I can get it to select. Come on. Make sure I don't have any accidentally selected back here. Okay, now for the tool that was the big secret. Okay. I will have a link in the description where you can get it. It's from an incredibly generous plugin creator called Brave Rabbit. Brave Rabbit. And he creates a smooth weight plugin that smooths the weights way better than painting smooth weights, does. It works so much better. So now in mine it's under animation, skin, underneath the skin, and it's down here with paint smooth and smooth selected components. Now this is an older, because I'm using an older version of Maya, I'm using an older, slightly older version of his plugin. Newer ones, it's in the same spot, it's almost named identically the same. It works pretty much the same. And what this does is it allows me, if I click, now I get an error when I click this. Don't know why. It's just my weird copy. Maybe it's the version of Maya I'm working on with, which is 2015, but it gets me that error. But what I did is I created a button, a smooth button, that all it does is this button here supposedly does the same thing as apply. This button does, but for some reason that doesn't work on here. But just me having it here, watch, boom, see it got smoother. See, that's the way it was. I just click it and boom, smoother. Now this is the strength value. If I didn't want it to be quite as strong, and say I wanted it to be not quite as strong on each click, now I have to apply it here, but then I can click over here and see it's smaller amounts of smoothness. Okay, And I could come in here and select more vertices. To smooth this out a little bit more. Maybe not that one. And I can smooth it. And I can smooth that. Click, 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 click. I might even want to smooth this. Oops, no. I gotta pick these individually. And I can smooth them. There we go. There we go. Awesome. And so now, when we make our breasts bigger or smaller, you'll see they're nice. So that's how easy to do that with a smooth tool, with the built-in paint weights tool in Maya. You could never get it that smooth. See, it's knowledge. See, knowledge is power, and I'm giving it to you for free. I used to do students, and they would pay me to teach them this. You're getting this for free. Like I said, I'm not doing teaching anymore, so I will from time to time do a private lesson, but no, most people won't ever need it. So I could be shooting myself in the foot and could be getting more private students, but I'm just not that great of a teacher. And I'm okay, but yeah. So awesome. Okay. I mean, there are a bunch of other smaller little details in this and that somebody might need to hire, have a private lesson with me to do. But this will get you pretty much where you need to go. Okay. So we're basically a good thing, like I said, when you do the plugin and you have her walk, you can look around. See how things are moving. They seem to be moving just fine. You can make the breast bigger or smaller and see if it still looks okay. You can see what different shapes look like. There's the standard size. You can come over here to my body types, which are voluptuous. Really small waist. And like I said, this is one of the reasons why you bought Maya Stars, so you could actually really see what does it look like. Okay, you can go to, it's always good to go to the body fat, make her as big as humanly possible. I don't know why the belly got so much bigger. That's weird. I wouldn't think the belly would get that big. That would be under torso, right? Belly size. Yeah. Maybe because it's so far away, it's not skin tight. If it was skin tight, it would probably stay right with the belly. But because it's already away from the shirt, it's moving. Yeah, it's moving the same percentage. That's why it's a loose shirt. That's why it was sticking out that far. But anyway, so like you said, you can make, it's always good to go just to see how things are moving and how things are smooth or not. And okay, So that's rigging a shirt. There's a couple of caveats. I would say. Normally the shoulders, you want to rig your clothing into whatever the default bind pose is for the mesh avatar that you're rigging to. So one way you can find out what is that pose, like I say, if you go to bind pose and you detach skin, that's probably the T pose. If you take that and you select the mesh body and you go to detach skin, detach it, don't delete history, detach skin. See, the actual bind pose for this avatar most likely is the T pose. Okay, so because what can happen, especially if you had long sleeves and you rigged it in the A pose like this, when it's for the T pose, even though the meshes copies the weights perfectly around the shoulders, because it was started off in a different starting point in the bind pose, then the bind pose, I mean the starting point of the mesh clothing, to say we made this a long sleeve shirt, is in a different starting point, even if it has the same weights. Since once it won't react quite the same. It won't react, even though it has the same weights, it won't quite react the same. You really always want to rig your clothes to the bind pose of the avatar that you're making your clothes for. So in that case, what I would do if you really want to make this perfect is you would go to MayaStar. Let's see, you go to MayaStar, Animation and Poses. Go to the T pose. Oh, T pose, right? That's the T pose. And then you would select your mesh. You would duplicate it, Control D. We've just duplicated it, right? We've just duplicated it. And then what you would do is, okay, so we have the duplicate is selected. Let me open up the outliner. Okay. So let's Control Z back. Okay, so that's the original mesh. If we duplicated it, which would be Edit and Duplicate, for those who don't know, and there's the new mesh. So then I would probably put it on its own layer and call this the duplicate underscore shirt. Can't have a space. This is like the only place in Maya that does not allow you to have spaces. Click Set. Save. Okay, so that's the duplicate shirt. And we can hide it. And we can select the original. Create another layer. Original T pose. I mean, A pose. A pose. Shirt. Okay. Now, even though the duplicate looks like it's rigged, it's really not. There's no skin cluster here. This is just locked out. It's I don't know why it doesn't. You can unlock selection if you want, but it doesn't matter if it's locked or not. Okay. So we see a little poke through here. So the first thing you want to do is you want to undo the poke through. I don't know what's going on down here. So you would go to the let me move this out of the way. You'd want to go to your Sculpt Geometry tool, and you'd want to pull these out. Maybe we want to relax. Relax this stuff a little bit. Okay, and then pull to get rid of any poke through. Okay. I don't know what happened here. Let's try relaxing. Let's see, let's go to, no, I don't want that. What vertex? Go to the, oh, where's the X-ray? X-ray, where is that? There it is. Looks like. Remember, this was the mesh that folded in on itself? Now let's get out of it. And I'm just using the arrow keys on the keyboard. Go left and right. For those who don't know that about Maya. I'm holding down the V key. I'm going to snap it to there. And now I can kind of move it out just to get it. On these, I could probably let's go back to here. Relax. Oh, we've got to be in object mode. Come on. Object mode. Okay, I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to clean up this area because it might take me another few minutes. Okay, so I got it all cleaned up, so it's looking halfway decent. Yeah, that's not too bad. Probably would go. Let me get that one last little part. There we go. Okay, so alrighty, so we got it looking pretty good. Okay. So now we don't have any poke through. It's looking pretty good on both sides. Okay, so now what you do is, although this is looking a little, whoops, a little too poked out there. Tiny booger. Okay, that's looking a little better. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so now that you have it in the position of the T-pose, we can do this. We can let's delete the history on this. Delete history. It's always going to be continually deleting history. Okay, so that's the duplicate shirt. This is the original shirt, right? And we can just copy the weights over. You know, we can either copy the weights over from the shirt, or we can just do the same thing we did before. Let's do the, like I said, you can either copy the weights over from, well, yeah, we want to copy the weights over from the shirt because we did all the work on the breast area. So what you do, let's hide the original, and we go MyStar, all bones select, shift select our clothing, MyStar, smooth fine skin, whoops. Oh, because we didn't have it, because remember our original, we changed the bind pose to the A pose, so we just got to do this again. Skin weight tools, create bind pose. Oh, well, that's the other way. You can create a bind pose in several different places, like 3 or 4. But just think, skin weight tools, create bind pose. No object matches name. MyStar. Object matches name. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. What was that error again? Create bind pose. Okay, so this is an error that you might come up to, and this is why I don't like multiple bind poses. So it's actually good that this came up in the video. So if you ever get that error, this is how to fix it. Okay, go to display, turn off. Normally by default it looks like this, right? Turn off DAGs only. Type in bind asterisk enter. And why didn't it find the bind pose? Is it capital? No, okay. Get out of there. Unique bind pose. No, I think it's lowercase. B-I-N-D-P-O-S-E. What the heck? Now I gotta manually find it. Hold on. Okay, that was fun. What had happened was when I imported it, I had a certain setting that it didn't just import it with the name of the mesh. You know, it imported it with the name of the file that it came from. So it's yeah, that messed up the bind pose name and has caused nothing but trouble. So, but this actually, if you want to look at the bright side, you get to see why you want Dora. Okay, so here's the original rigged top, right? This is the original rigged top that rigged in the A pose. Okay, there's the skin cluster. So what we want to do is we want to open up Dora, and you go to export, and we're just going to give it a name, video shirt. And we're going to export. Okay, and it exported all the weights out for the 1294 vertices. And you just say OK, and this is where it's going to save it to. Okay, so once we have that exported out, and then we're going to have to export out, well, we'll see. We might have to export out this as well. It's a lot of vertices, so it would take longer to export out. We're going to see if we can't just do this instead. Okay, so that's the top. Let's export this out as original. Export selection. Original shirt. Original shirt. A pose. Okay. Export that out. Okay, and then we are going to delete it. And we're going to export out the T-pose shirt, because it also has the, because it was a duplicate, it has this in it. So we're going to get rid of it. And this will be duplicate shirt T-pose. Okay, and since it's not rigged, well, it is rigged, but it's not rigged properly. It's not rigged properly. So if we go to animation and poses, female walk, and see, it has the default. Yeah, it just has the default. Okay, my star, go to bind pose. Okay, let's delete that as well. And put back in the T-pose. Give us the same here. On the end pelvis. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to start off with a brand new scene. Don't save. We're going to do the MyStar import dev kit like we did before. Which was there. C drive. Let me pause this. Oh yeah, I forgot. It was the DAE. Date modified. There we go. Hourglass for video. Comes in all messed up. We do import dev kits. We did step 1, step 2. That fixes this. And then we do step 3, masterize. Female original. Okay. Now let's see if it has a bind pose. Okay, good. So it has the correct bind pose. And now we need to make it centimeter to meter scale. Okay, then we can import our OBJs. There's the original in the A pose. You see that's the A pose. And then if we go to where's animation and poses, if we go to A pose, okay, and we create a bind pose, SkinWeight tools. Create bind pose. Okay, that's the new bind pose. Okay, and then if we, well, we should just be able to have to do this. Select that, then that. Open up our maxInf tool and do the transfer. Okay, and now if we go to female walk, it's walking. The weights are messed up, remember? Okay, we go to bind pose. Now this is where you go to Dora. Okay, you go to the import tab. Remember, it was video shirt was the name of the file we sent out. Come down here to, I was using the middle mouse, video shirt. Vertex order, that's what you want to use. That's the default. And then we say import. And it takes a little while, comes in. Okay, it says all the weights have been imported. The reason I like Dora, it takes a little longer, but it imports perfectly what we exported. Never use the built-in Maya import exporter of weights. It sucks. It's very inaccurate. Or inaccurate. 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 Okay. So now we can go to bind pose. Maya star. We don't need this anymore. Go to bind pose. Okay. And now we can, now if we click on this, is it still the bind pose? Okay, so to find the bind pose, you turn off tags only, type in bind space, there we go. And the star or the asterisk just means wildcard, so there's the bind pose, so it did come in. Okay, and let me import the other shirt. Okay, this is where the namespace was. See, it added the file name. We could do closest match, or we could turn off use namespaces. And there's the shirt for the T-pose. So that's the original shirt. And see, this one just came in with the word mesh. Okay, so this is the duplicate T-pose. Okay. So we might as well put that on its own layer. Shirt T-pose. Shirt underscore A pose. Okay. Okay. But we want it in A pose because, okay, this whole thing started because you need to rig your mesh clothing in the pose that the avatar itself was originally rigged in, so that the ratios of the rotations of the joints and bones are going to be the same. Because even if the vertex is in the same spot and you copy the weights over perfectly, but the bone you're rigging it to is in a different rotation than it was on the original, it's in a different, it's not going to react the same. Because there's a different ratio between the bones in different, in different bone positions. That's the best I can explain it. So we want this to be in the T-pose. So here, I'm now finally back to where we were. Animation and poses. Go to the T-pose and see, this is where I'd fixed the underarms and everything. Okay. And then we want to create a custom bind pose. Create, and see, we didn't get an error. So now, if we were to go to female walk and move it, and then go to bind pose, it's in the T-pose. So that's what I was hoping was supposed to be happening. Okay. And, okay. So what you'd want to do is you could go all bones select, shift select your mesh clothing, go to smooth bind skin. I'm going to turn off allow multiple bind poses because I tried that while I had the video paused. See if that would fix it. That didn't, but now we combine it. Okay, we have the default rigging, which is horrible, but that's to be expected. Go to bind pose. Okay, so now what we can do is we can take the original shirt and, well, there's two things we can do. Because they're the same identical shirt, I could import the weights. I could import the weights directly from directly from Dora. You know, I could come in here and import the weights onto the duplicate shirt, or I could copy the weights over, but because these vertices are going to be in different positions, it may not copy the weights over perfectly, you know. So I'm going to use Dora, you know, instead of copying the weights from the original A pose shirt to the T pose shirt. So this is one of the reasons why you want Dora. Now, so I click the video shirt, and because I didn't make any structural changes, I just moved vertices around. I didn't delete vertices, I didn't input any new edges or anything, or delete faces. That means this shirt's going to have the same vertex order. What vertex order means is each vertice is assigned, each vertice is assigned a number. Where would that number be? I think it's in Windows, General Editors, Component Editor. Yeah, see, there's the number. That's vertex number 541. You know, that's vertex order number 541. And if you were to, you know, copy or merge or delete edges from the original then to this one, then that might not be 541 anymore. And Dora saves the information in basically a text file and says 541 has these bones influencing in it, and these are the percentages of those bones. And so it's all been written out. So if you change the vertex order, this won't work anymore. Now, if you didn't change the positions, say you just deleted some vertices, but you didn't change any of the positions, you could use the XYZ positions. Or if you have UV set and they both have the same UV set, but you've moved vertices, you know, but the UVs are exactly the same, you could use this. Now, these two use an accuracy, how close does it have to be? Vertex order, the vertex doesn't have, you know, it's going to use, it doesn't need to use it. This is if you move the UVs a little bit, it'll find the closest UV to that. You know, if you move the XYZ positions, it will try to find the one closest, how accurate does it have to be. So, but most of the time you use vertex order. Okay. And then you just click, and you have to be in object mode. You just click import. Now, the more vertices you have, the longer this is going to take. So, if you have 30 or 40,000 vertices in your mesh, it's going to take a couple of minutes. I've had it take like 10 minutes to load it, but believe me, it's worth the wait. Okay, so we have that done. And now if she walks, the back is fine and everything looks pretty good. You know, there's a little weirdness going on back here, I believe. Oh, not too bad. Oh yeah, there's something weird going on over here. So if we go to vertices, and go to X-ray, come on, close, close. I forget which one is this. Is it this X-ray? There we go. That's X-ray. You know, there's some weirdness going on inside here. So what we could do is we could go to bind pose. Okay, here's another little secret. I'm telling you guys all my secrets. Okay. Let's hide the skeleton so it doesn't interfere. We can turn off the X-ray. Okay. So, let's see if I remember how to do this correctly. So, if we want to copy from here to here, we could hover our mouse over, like let's put the body on its own layer. Body. So we can hide it. Makes it a little bit easier. Body. Okay. So normally you would copy weights. You'd select that, and then you'd shift select that, and you'd copy it. But we like the weights here. We don't want to copy the weights over that again. So what you can do is you can select that first, and then you can hide that if you really need to. And then put your mouse over your mesh, hold down your right mouse button, and go to vertices. And we really only want the vertices. Oh, and then hold down the shift key because you're adding to the selection, and then let go. And now the body is, the body should still be selected. Okay, vertice, and then you, Control Shift will add to the selection without losing your previous selection. Oh yeah, it should have been selected. Yeah. And then we'll do over here. Okay. And then we'll get rid of, turn it. Okay, let's be a little more careful with our selection here. Okay. So we've added that, and now we can go to copy skin weights. Interactive smooth, tools, copy skin weights. And we're just going to use the default, copy skin weights. And so now it's copied over that area, and it looks a lot better. See, it's not getting it. But now if we go to our breast size and go to our torso, go to breast size, we didn't screw up our rigging for our breasts. We could go in here and let's see if we can't make that a little nicer. Okay. And we could use the smooth tool. This one, where is it? That's one. We'll try smoothing that. Didn't really help that much, did it? Okay, so I'm going to go over the other tools. This is a good spot to come and talk about the other tools of maxInf. maxInf is just not for the transfer thing. What maxInf can do is, let's hide the body. We don't need the body. Okay. So what maxInf can do is you could say, I like the weights of that one. It looked better, right? And you can copy, and you can select the one that doesn't look that great and select paste. So you can do that. You can copy and you can paste. Yeah, see, that looks a lot better. That's the one we pasted. That. Now the other things you can do with maxInf is, you see down here, once we selected the vertice, these are the bones that vertice is rigged to. And you can try doing different things, like you can select the upper arm, and you see these things over here. If you can try increasing and you notice that it increases. These are percentages. That's 65% on the upper arm. Or you can decrease it to try to make it look smoother. See, look at that. Looks a lot better. So, and you can do that. You can click any of these. You can add, like, these are, if you want to add, make, like, say, the right clavicle 50%. See, went straight to 50%. Boom. So if you want to delete a bone, I'm going to Control Z. If you want to delete a bone, and sometimes it doesn't update. Oh, I guess there it is. Okay. Oh, I would have thought it would have updated. Maybe we got to pick a different. Sometimes it does it. See, they're none of them are changing. This is one of the things. So if that happens where nothing is changing over here, just close it and reopen it. Doesn't happen that often, but once in a while it does. Okay. Let's see. I've never really had much blend. It's supposed to do a blend of the two. I've never really seen that that's made any difference. If you want to remove a bone out of influencing it, you just select a bone and you hit 0. Okay, and this is to grow the selection. You can grow the selection, so now more vertices are selected. You can shrink a selection. You can select by edge loop and all that. That's what this stuff up here is for. This gives you a little. The scale is it kind of. It can give you kind of a more finer than the set weight. This increases it by a whole number. 0.5, I believe, is the smallest it will increase or decrease. You know, if we put this to 0.5, oh wait a minute, 0.05. I believe it does it with a smaller percentage, smaller changes than this one would. And I think 0.05 is the smallest. If you wanted to add a bone to influence it, you would select the bone in here first. These are all the bones that it's rigged to. You can use your middle mouse wheel to get to the bone that you want. And then you'd select the bone. You know, say for some reason you wanted the right knee, and then you give it a percentage, or you give it one of these values, preset values. I don't think if you hit this, what is? Or you can hit that. You can just add a little bit. But, of course, we don't want the right knee. You can see what happened. So you can add, remove 0 weights. This prunes the weights. If there's, what that does is it will remove any weight smaller than 1%. Think of that as 1%. 0.0, 1 being 100, 0.9 would be 90%, and 0.01 would be 1%. See, this has very little influence on this vertice right here, and so, but it's still bigger than 1%, just barely bigger than 1%. So if we were to make it smaller, see, then it got rid of it completely. But you see, it did move slightly, so it does have a slight, it does influence a little bit, 1%. Anyway, so you could select all of the vertices in. Wow, this is a long video, but there's a lot to rigging. Normally, like I said, I was charging people an hour to go through this, and you're getting it for free. But my hope is that more people will start to rig and get happier with it, and word will spread, and more people will buy my star. At least that's the hope. You can select all the vertices, and you could put remove 0 weight, and then it will remove all the bones that have less than 1%, or weighting of all the bones that have less than 1%. That helps a lot. So yeah, so this is a very, very, very useful tool. You can come in and make very small adjustments to things without having to get out the Paint SkinWeights tool. You can copy over weights. This is a slightly modified version of the program. This plugin was originally made for Y up. And so with Y up, I think it's Z is left and right. And so I had to modify mine slightly so I can mirror and paste across the y-axis. I don't do it very often. Believe me, you don't really use it that much. I've never really even, I've experimented with it. I could see maybe some useful. It's basically you could rig one side of your mesh and then have it mirrored over to the other side. But you'd still have to adjust it. So I never found it coming in handy. So don't freak out if you don't have, you have to go through the mel code and replace whatever number, a letter you see in the code that says Y with or Z with Y, or maybe it's X. No, I think it's Z. Anyway, with Y. Let's see. So yeah, so that's this tool. It's awesome. You got to get it. It'll say it'll you know, like I say, making small changes and then being able to select some vertices and smoothing it out. Yours, what it will have, if you have a newer version of Maya, you'll still have the skin thing. It'll still be at the bottom of the skin thing. It might be, say, BR Smooth Weights or whatever like that. And when you click on it, it will open up another little window, or it will open up a tab over here. And you'll have other controls other than just flooding it. But I can't demonstrate it because I don't have a new enough version of Maya. So, but yeah, but it's the same way, you know, it's the same, it has the same basic controls of smooth value, you know, that you can put up to whatever, you know, this is 100% change or smoothing, or you can lower it down so you can make smaller increments. It will have that slider, and it will have a flood button. You click a flood button instead of apply. But then they have a few other controls in there that you might find useful. I don't know. I can't play with it. And I don't really see any other than the flood. So anyway, but yeah, you get this nice smooth thing there. Now that's always going to happen. There's always limits because see, her mesh itself goes inside itself. So it's not a problem. Okay, so we're almost there. We're getting there. We're getting there. Hang in there. I know it's been an hour, but we're getting there. And it's good that we run into problems. Okay, so we're almost getting to the finish, and I still have a few more free plugins to show you that will make your life easier. Okay, so we go to bind pose. Okay. Let's see. So the first thing you want to do is there's two different free plugins that you want to get. One will find any vertice that has more than 4 bones rigged to it. Okay, it will find all those vertices. So I call it 5 or more. You know, and I just click on it, and it takes a little while to run, depending on the number of vertices that are in your mesh. It didn't take that long to run, and it found 42 vertices, and it does tell you in the little thing here. It does tell you. See, found 42 vertices with more than 4 influences. Okay, because remember, 4 influences is the maximum. Now, if we were just to create a DAE and exported it out and try to upload it, most likely it would get an error. You wouldn't even get you wouldn't get the include skin weights, and not because these have more than 5. It's because there's more than you can only have 110 bones rigged to a mesh, but there's in the current skeleton there's 159 bones. And so if you went all bone select and you copied over the weights and all that with all bone select, your mesh would be technically rigged to 159 bones, which is above the limit, and you wouldn't be able to, that would be grayed out. But we'll get to that step here. It's one of the last steps that fix that, but it's not this problem here. But what I'm saying is, the point I'm trying to get to is, since these have more than 4 bones influencing them, right? Okay, so let's take that vertice. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has 5 bones. And so when you would go to upload it to Second Life would just, I don't know if it just randomly picks one of the bones and removes all of its influence, or maybe it cuts off the bottom one in this list. Well, that's 7%. You know, that's 1.3%. You know, it'd be better to get rid of this one. But you don't have really any control. It just prunes it automatically in Second Life, and that, if it gets rid of the wrong one, that can make a huge difference. And then all of a sudden your mesh isn't moving. You're like, it moves perfectly in Maya, but when I get it into Second Life, it doesn't move right. You know, and you're tearing your hair out. Believe me, I've torn out so much hair over the years wondering what the heck is going on, because I rigged it to 4 max. Now there is a tool in here under skeleton, or is it in here? Set max influence, but that prunes the weights too, even worse. So it really sucks. Don't use this. So it's like, okay, so here is where the second plugin, free plugin, little mouse grip, it works like a charm. It prunes the weights so good compared to any other ways you can prune it. I've pruned weights trying to set this to a low percentage and doing it, and I've gotten it down. And this doesn't ruin the weights that bad because at least it gets rid of the smallest weights. But even this doesn't do as good a job as this script is going to do it. So what you do is you go into object mode and you select your mesh, and then you do what I call 4 max. And what's a good way of doing it is you could make your breast big, or just to see if it's going to make any big differences. And you can make her as heavy as she possibly can be. You don't have to do that. But what I'm saying is, with these set to the maximum influenced values, you know, yeah, see, even though we smoothed it, we could smooth these weights even more so. Wait a minute, let's get this back to, okay, so from there to about there, and apply all to get her back, and then we can kind of increase the selection. That's just shift, and I believe it's the greater sign or the lesser sign. I think it's the greater sign to increase, and we want to deselect those. We don't need these down here. Whoops. Stop it. I hit Q on the keyboard just to get the select tool. So when I drag that, and we probably don't need these 3. Okay, but now we can smooth this again. Maybe smooth that. And we can deselect these and do a little bit more smoothing. There we go. That's better. Yeah, I mean that's the biggest way you can get, and you can. So it's always good to put those like on max, because if it looks okay there, you know it's going to look fine with people who are have everything else not as dramatically set. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so let's go to reset skeleton. Okay, so what you do is you select your mesh, right? Oh, I'm sorry. Go to apply all. to have this maxed out. Because if there's going to be any big changes in the weights, you're going to see it. Okay? And then you come over to what I call Formax, and you click on it, and it runs really fast, and it's done. And you noticed nothing really moved. You know, which means it's nothing really moved, which means your weights are still going to look perfect. And then I usually run 5 or 4 max over again, and it didn't find any. 0 vertices have 4 or more. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So that means, what this all means, and like I said, I'm giving all my good stuff away for free, but I don't feel like teaching anymore, is what this means is what you see in Maya, it's going to move exactly the same. Now, once we get into Maya, which we are not going to get into this video, don't worry, it's long enough, is when we do export this out and import it into Second Life, you may see some poke through and this and that, and that's only because, not because this DAE, that export, is not as accurate, you know, is getting messed up somehow. No, it's because the dev kit bodies themselves are not the same as the bodies they have in Second Life. They decimate them, although Tonic, I can tell she didn't really decimate it. She might have smoothed it. I hope that her body isn't this dense, you know, high of a resolution, because that's just ridiculously dense. So she probably smoothed it a bunch of times, and then, which adds topology, you know, and then copied the weights over, and so that it would copy weights over better, you know. But what that means is when you're having her walk in this and that, it's probably not going, like I said, it has different topology and it's smoother, you know, because of that. And the one in World is not as smooth, so it's going to have things that might poke through. So, you know, but at least you know your weights are going to be absolutely perfect. Okay, so okay, so we're almost there, almost ready to export out our weights. So we're getting really close. Hang in there. I know it's been 1 hour and 15 minutes, but we're getting there. Okay, so now we go back to bind pose, although you don't have to. Okay, we've removed the extra influences, so we know that's all perfect. But we do know it probably has more than 115 bones, or most likely it will have more than 115 bones. So the last thing you need to do is go Maya star, go down to near the very bottom, remove unused influences, and I'm going to make sure your script editor is closed when you do this, because what will happen is it will show you the progress through the script editor, and that just slows it down, especially if you have like 20 or 30,000 vertices in your mesh. I mean, you might be doing a ball gown, which is really big and long, you know, very long flowing skirt dress, and you might need a lot of vertices. So, so yeah, do yourself a favor, make sure your script editor is closed, and then go Maya star, remove unused influences. Okay, so what that did is you look down below at the bottom of the screen, it says removed 23 unused influences. That means there were bones that this was rigged to that weren't influencing at all. And let me Control Z. Okay, so I Control Z, 5 or more. Yep, there were none. Okay, so I Control Z far enough back. If you want to know what bones your mesh is rigged to, open up your script editor. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Open up your script editor. Oh no, this isn't Tonic. This is, I kept saying Tonic. No, this is Hourglass by Slink, not Tonic. Okay, clear out the history, right? I'm just holding down the right mouse button, clear history. Go into Maya star, go to for earlier versions of Maya, and then come down here, do skin cluster bone names. Okay, so this is the list of all the bones that that mesh top is rigged to. Now it looks like it's below 110, so we would have been okay. But you can see down here, left lower leg, left hip, upper leg, knee. We don't need those. You don't need those in the skin cluster. And so, and if we did do a whole bento skeleton, with the wings and the tails and the hind legs and all the face bones, and we did all bone select, there would be 159 bones. And so, like I said, this is always what you want to do, is remove unused influences. And it removed it. Okay, so now it removed the bones. So now we're getting ready to export out our DAE. So we can go File, Export Selection. And in fact, so we're going to export selection. You come down here to DAE FBX, and I'm going to go over the settings real quick that you should use. You're in for a penny, in for a pound, right? So user defined, reference objects, influence, that's fine. Defaults extension, geometry. This is normally set to NURBS, doesn't really matter. Interactive display mesh is just fine. Animation, turn on animation. You're going to have to turn on animation to get to these things. This is fine, don't worry about that. Okay, baked animations, you don't want to make sure that's all off skin. That skins means those are your waiting for the skin weights. Blend shapes, turn off blend shapes, that's usually on. Turn it off, you don't need it. Turn off cameras, turn off lights. Input connections, you can't, that's grayed out for some reason, you can't turn it on or off, leave it off. Turn off automatic. Automatic has been known to make things crash when you export out on certain versions of Maya, I believe. So turn that off. If you're doing the big avatar like I'm doing here, remember this is the big meter size avatar, change this to centimeters. If you were working on the tiny avatar, which some people rig to that, that's fine, totally fine, change this to meters. Okay, but we want centimeters. Default is Z or is Y up. Maya's default is always Y up, so change that to Z up, so that's second life, so that when you res it on the ground, it's not going to be on its side. I turn off Show Warning Manager and turn off General Log. You never get any good data out of that, and all you see is you always get warnings when you export out, no matter what, and they don't ever mean anything. So turn it off. You can triangulate it or not triangulate it. It doesn't matter. In fact, there's two places you can tell it to triangulate. You can tell it to triangulate up here. I turn it on down here. You can turn on either or leave them both off. All that's going to do is your mesh will not be triangulated when you export out. And it might take just a little bit longer to upload, because then Linden Lab is going to triangulate it in the uploader. And it might just take a little bit longer. Single frame is fine. And yeah, this is the plugin 2015. If you're using 2013, I believe there is a problem with Maya 2013. So if you're using Maya 2013, you'll want to go on their FBX archive and get the FBX Maya plugin for a newer version. Older versions work just fine. This is something freaked out with 2013. I don't know if it was bad luck, but I think I remember that being the case. But 2014 and newer is just fine, and 2012 and older work just fine. So yeah, so that's the FBX plugin that we're using, 2015. But yeah, do yourself a favor and then come back here and turn off animation. Okay, so that no animations get exported out with your DAE, and none of these lights and all that kind of stuff won't be exported out, and it will make the file size smaller and it will upload faster. So yeah, so those are the settings that you're going to use, and we'll say video shirt, video shirt. I'm sorry, I'm hearing video killed the radio store in my head now. Me and my ADHD. Now I'm hearing that song. Okay, so you go export, and it exported it out. Okay, so I'm going to pause it, and I'm going to go into Second Life. Okay, so here we are on the beta test grid. The beta test grid is great because everything is free as far as uploads. And believe me, you're going to be doing plenty of uploads. This is just a shirt and some pants that I was working on the last couple of days. Just a real simple shirt. Okay, and simple pants. So, okay. So, let's upload our mesh. Oh, and the other thing is, yes, this is just a demo body from Slink. This is Hourglass. So this is just a demo. That's one way if you don't feel like buying every single mesh body out there, just go get their demos and try it out on their demos. And that should be fine. Although I ended up yesterday or the day before, I ended up buying Slink's Hourglass, even though I know Shadeen very well, and if I had asked, she'd probably give it to me. But I like to support people, and so I bought her Hourglass. Okay, so let's detach this. Hopefully, I've got a bra on. Thank you. Phew! I saw the strap, but I was like, oh, what if they're nippless bras? That'd be great. Or holes for the nipples in the bras. That would be bad. Okay. And I don't think I own any, but just in case. That went through my mind. Okay, so we do build. We go to upload, and I tear it off because you're always going to be uploading multiple ones. Go to model. And then we're going to go to see, this is where I was doing it before. Let's just go to desktop. Okay, go up to the top. Video shirt. Okay, as long as you see that this isn't grayed out, you're good to go. Okay, now here's what most of my designers have told me they do. They don't bother making individual LODs, although Linden Lab is going to soon pretty much try to encourage you very, very strongly to make LODs. They're going to make it a lot. They're either going to increase the cost of uploading mesh that you don't do your own LODs with, or they're going to make uploading mesh with your own LEDs a lot cheaper, which would be nice. But this is what most girls and guy designers do. They go LOD above, and they either bring this down to 0, or they bring it almost to 0. I usually bring it to 0, at least for testing, because nobody's even going to see you from this far away. But if you do bring it down to 2, somebody who's zoomed in from real far away might see you naked. Because it's only going to be 2 triangles, and they may not cover what you need them to cover. And here's a little advertisement for Optimo Maximo, my partner. He makes plugins for Maya and Mayastar, and I get on these plugins that he creates all by himself, I get a relatively small percentage, and he takes the majority, which he should, because he's done all the work. He has an auto LED generator, LOD generator, which is awesome. So when Linden Lab comes out with those changes, you're going to be like, I don't want to make all these LODs. It generates the LODs automatically, and it does an awesome job. And it doesn't screw up your textures or your mesh. And you can just copy the weights over. Actually, I think you can do it while it's rigged. So you just generate the LODs. I think you can do it when it's rigged. I'm not sure. I'll have to find that out. Don't remember. Anyway, then you either just copy the weights over, or I think you could even do it while it's rigged, but I'm not sure. And then you have your different levels. Linden Lab wants a 50% reduction each. So 50% to here, 50%, so what's 50% of 2455. That's like 20 or 1225.5, I think. Or no, 1227.5. Something like that, yeah. Would be the number of vertices for this one, then half again, then half again. So physics doesn't really matter. I usually just pick the lowest. You don't even have to pick anything. I just do that out of habit. Okay, you want to include the skin weights. See, you knew it wasn't grayed out because you saw that over there. Do not include joint positions ever for clothes, because if the mesh body itself is using custom bone positions, this could interfere with that. So you don't want to. And then we'll say video shirt 1. You look over here at the dimensions. If I had this at meter instead of centimeter, this would be like 30 meters, you know, or maybe even 300. I can't remember. It's either going to be 30 or 300. And if you do see really huge numbers like that, don't panic. You don't have to re-export out. Just come over here and put in 0.001. And see, it's that much smaller. You can't see it anymore. So don't panic if it's super humongous and you're like, oh no, I gotta re-export it out. You can save it, just do that, and it's not gonna hurt it. Okay. Then you calculate weights. And see, it's only 11. And look at the land impact is what, 0.5. So you go upload. Okay, we've uploaded it, and there it is. You just right mouse click and go add. And there's our shirt. And we don't really have any poke through, which is good. Because remember, we gave it a little bit of extra padding. There is a little something weird there that maybe we didn't see it when we were walking. Yeah, it's going in a little bit right there. See, so we have a little bit of a problem there that we didn't see, that we need to fix. But I don't see any poke through. Let me put on my... This is good. If you have a sexy walk. If you have some animations that you can play to see if you have any poke through. You know, you can see there's a little bit there, but I don't see any poke through around here in the back. That's because we gave it a nice little bit of padding, so there's no poke through. So overall, that looks really good, but again, we're going to have to go back and fix it. If you do have poke through, you know, and it's just a little bit of poke through, I'll show you how to fix it without having to do any weight. You know, let's go back to bind pose. Okay, so if you had some poke through, right, and you don't want to try to fiddle with the weights, because sometimes no matter what you do, just because the way the vertices are positioned, because this mesh top is going to be probably slightly lower resolution than the clothing than the body underneath it, and so sometimes there's no way to fix something with just weighting, you know, trying to paint weight. So a real easy way of fixing that is just while it's rigged, you don't have to unrig it. While it's rigged, open up your Sculpt geometry tool, and I mean you can try to fix it with the max SkinWeights and adding a little bit of influence here, and you know, or decreasing or increasing influence. But this is a lot easier. Just go to pull, go on to normals, and well, let's push some in. Okay, let's push some in. I'm gonna push this inward. Okay. Okay, so you have a little bit of poke through, right? But let's say, let's Control Z back that way. So let's say it's really close. Well, let's do it a little bit more. Okay, so it's in there, and say you didn't notice it. That's pretty noticeable. See, this is nice about having nice edge flow. When you see something that's not smooth, you're like, oh, there must be a problem. Okay, but let's pretend like we didn't see that, right? Let's fix this over here. Let's fix this weighting over here before we do it so we can get that fixed. Let's go to vertices and oops. Did we get that? No. Okay, sometimes these are a little pain in the butt. Let's pick this vertice that we can see, hit the right arrow to pick that one on your keyboard. Okay, although we should have copied the weights from that one first. So let's open up maxInf, copy, and the arrows go by the camera view. So, so you hit the right arrow to go to that, to pick that one. Okay, and we can paste. Now that didn't really make that great of a difference, did it? So we can try to go, how about more upper arm? No, less upper arm. Okay, how about this one? Let's try copying that weight for that one. Wait a minute, copy. Oh, and I gotta click here. If you don't want to click here and lose your selection, just click in this blank area right here. And then hit the up arrow. And let's paste that. Whoa! No, it didn't like that. Okay, how about if we smooth it? Will that help? Oh, that helps a little bit. Oh, and I see this whole thing right here. Let's smooth. Did that? Oh, see, that's the bad thing. Is I selected through the mesh. I was thinking I was selecting this one. You can do that by, if you go to select, turn on camera-based selection, so that you don't accidentally select through a mesh to the other side. I'm so old school. Before we even had that. And now let's try smoothing that. That looks better. No, don't want that. Want that. Oh, that's too much. Okay. So this is, like I said, this is the fun part of rigging. Trying to figure out what is the best thing. And you can try different things. You try chest. Nope. How about decreasing the chest? Oh, that works better. And if you select something, you hit F on the keyboard, it will focus on that, so it will rotate around that. So this is where, like I said, you could, I don't think we want to do left upper arm, do we? No. How about left upper arm less? That's better. Okay. So that's looking better. Okay. Or we could also, if that still looked a little bit, we could come into here and we could come to pull and we could just pull it out a little bit. Now if you only have a mouse, you can set this to a lower number, and each click would make it go a little bit not nearly as far. So you don't have to have a brush. See, just moved a little bit. If we hit the up arrow, we can pull that out a little bit. Do the right arrow to go that one, and then down arrow to go to that one, and we could pull that out a little bit. Not sure which way to go now. So you could turn that down to a max displacement lower and still use your mouse. Like I said, I prefer using a Wacom tablet. Like I said, do yourself a favor because the pen is going to help you in texturing and all that other stuff. We're at 1 hour and 42 minutes. Or 40 minutes. Okay. So that looks better. Okay. So now we can, I always export out and bind pose. You don't have to. It's just a bad habit I've gotten into. If you want to call it a bad habit. And yeah, but see now by pulling it out, it kind of got a little, or that might have been that shape when we originally made it. But now we can export selection. We're going to, come on. Well, that was weird sounding. Okay, and then we come here again, and let me switch back to my regular mouse, because Second Life does not like Wacom pens. Okay, so then we upload another mesh. Just real quick. Like I said, you don't have to do this part. I don't know if it makes any difference. I don't think so. Calculate weight fees. I'm not even going to change the name. Get rid of sexy walk. There's this. Add. And looks like I didn't go in far enough. I'm not real thrilled with that. Whoops, I'm not trying to do anything. But you get the point. You know, you get the point. If you could see, oh, so you can see a little bit of poking through. See that little dark dot that pokes through? That's a part of the body poking through a little bit. I didn't push it in far enough so you could really see it. If I put this to edit, texture, shine, high, come on, you can see. I would have thought it would show up better than that. Oh, there it is. You can see that's where it's indented. So you imagine if you saw some poke through. Let's see. Oh, and if you're wondering, yes, if we select the face, we can put the shine to none. Oh, that's because this one doesn't have materials on it. This one doesn't have the materials on it. That was the other one. Okay. So, like I said, what you could do is, like I said, this is all a part of the process. Okay, yeah, see how that's kind of, that's really poking out a lot, real farther, way farther than you'd really want it to. And that's the one we were working on. What I would do is I would go to bind pose. I would open up Dora. I'd re-export out under the same name because remember we've smoothed some of the weights and everything, so we're going to save over the same one. Okay. Then I would Maya star, detach skin, or delete history, either way. Okay, now it's not rigged anymore. And I would go, okay. Now we can do it in object mode. We can go back to here. We could then go to, is that smooth? No, this is smooth. That's smooth. We can smooth that out a little bit. Okay, so that's a little better. Okay. And let's see. Yeah, and this side was okay. Okay, so now that it has a little bit better, smoother topology, what we can do then is we can do the same thing we did before, which is, oh, and it's always, like I said, it's always a good idea to delete history. Oh, we already deleted the history, but we did put a tweak in there when we smoothed it. So let's delete history just to be on the safe side. So you go -, all bone select. Look at the selection tool. Select that. Smooth bind skin. Smooth bind. Bind skin. Okay. Then we can import the Dora SkinWeights. Shirt import. Okay. And then we can do like what we did before, which is vertex. Select that area that we sort of fixed. You know, remember I held down Control-Shift to select the vertices because we're adding to the selection. We had already selected the mesh body, and then we right mouse clicked, held down the right mouse button on the mesh to get to the vertices. And now we're going to copy the skin weights. Skin weight tools, copy skin weights. And we copy. And now when she walks, it should look a lot better. Oh, it still freaks out. It does not like that one. So let's go hide the mesh body. Make sure we got the right one. Okay, it's this one right here. And open up my skin weights. Some of these are just a pain in the butt. Left clavicle. See, if we look at this one, let's copy the weights from that one. And you can see that's the one I had. See, that's too much, so we can decrease the chest. Hit F on the keyboard to zoom in so we can rotate around it. Well, that's not too bad. Yeah, but then you see these. This is part of the reason. Let's copy this one. Yeah, oops, come on. Come on. What the heck? Why are you not selecting this one? Oh, come on, you booger. Select it. Paste. Where did it go? Okay, yeah, decrease. It went right back to where it was, but well, somewhat. That's what I'm seeing. Sometimes there's just no, you don't really see this, but when mesh folds over onto itself with the arms down like that, it can be a bit of a pain. And is this the T-pose? I think this is the T-pose, right? Or is it not? No, either way. Yeah, it's not the T-pose, but still. The arm, see, the mesh itself is in that area is getting very pinched and is actually going in on itself. That's why when it's copied over, see, it's technically following the area that it is. So technically it is following the right area. But if we go to bind pose, vertex. Oh, because we have camera-based selection not turned on. Probably a little too much. Let's hide the body. Make it a little easier. Go to vertex. We don't need quite that big of an area selected. Okay, and then if we smooth that, smooth it a little bit. Yeah, smooth it a little bit. Oh, that's not too bad. It's better. Doesn't look from behind, that's okay. I know you're saying, well, it's just going to be underneath their armpit anyway. What's the big deal? I just happen to be a perfectionist. So, here we go. That's better. My star, go to bind pose, turn off the body, go to vertices. Select this area right here. Get that out of the way. I don't want that. That's alright. Go to bind pose, go in there. And let's smooth it a little bit. And that's better. Yeah, that's not too bad. X-ray, 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 X-ray. Oh, that was smoothing that. Okay, it's about as good as that's going to get. Okay. Go to bind pose. Okay. Again, just go run that real quick. Didn't find anything. Nope. Didn't find anything. You don't see anything highlighted. It would have been selected if there had been. So we don't have to worry about doing that. Let's remove unused influences just to be on the safe side. And it removed 24. Okay. Whoops, come on. Object mode. Gotta be in object mode to export out. And let's see, we still have that one poking in. So we can come in here to our pull tool, turn that off, go to pull, take my pen, Wacom pen tablet, just kind of slowly pull it out. Now it's gonna go by let's see, if you go display, object display, no, polygons, vertex normals. It's going to pull out in the direction of this vertex normal. See that line? So even if you're down there like this, it's going to just go along that. That's probably a little bit too much. So I just Control Z back a little bit. Okay, so that's what this normals means. It's going to come along. It's going to come along here. You do have to get a little. Well, that's actually looking pretty good. Sometimes the vertex normals on the edges are pointing like in a weird direction. So when you go to do this, sometimes it will pull it out bigger. But these are all looking pretty good. Like see here, right here. This is a good example right there. See, it's shooting out that way when we might want it to be pulled more this way. So what you can do is that's when you use view. It's going to pull it towards the camera, towards what towards the camera, towards you. It will pull it in that direction instead of going towards the normal. Okay. Okay, and to turn that off, just go display, polygons, and just click vertex normals again. Alrighty. On Q on the keyboard to get to the select tool. And she's all fixed. And then you go File, Export Selection, and this should hopefully be the last one. It's almost 2 hours. I'm sure you're like, oh no, God. Hopefully you paused it. Okay, so we're going to detach this. We're going to upload it. Video shirt DAE. Use above. Like I said, this method of doing 0 and 0 and that, you can go to low, and you could increase it until you get something like that. It's going to cover, and then leave the one below that. That's what a lot of people do. Like I said, but Linden Lab is they're coming out with, they're going to be changing that. So buy buy Optimo Maximo's Auto LOD. It'll save you a lot of time, a lot of headache, and it won't mess up your textures or anything like that. So okay, so video shirt final. Hopefully. Is there two? No, there's only one final. Yeah, I think there's only one end and final, right? Okay. Include that. Did I do the physics? Yeah, we'll see what happens when you don't. Land impact, see, 4.2. Lowest. Of course, whenever you change anything, see, land impact 0.5. So, doesn't change anything in the price, but if you wanted to res it as an example on in your store, yeah, put it to 1, or put it to the lowest. Okay, and then you add it, and there's no more problem with the back. The front's looking pretty good. Although, wow, still don't like that. I'd like to smooth that out. Oh, I see. The reason it was kind of looking crinkly was her shoulder was moving forward. It was the animation. So, awesome. And that's the other thing, is that with good edge flow, when the clothes does move, it moves better. You don't get as many artifacts because it's going to fold in on itself according to the edge flow. So you get better deformation when the avatar is moving. You get more realistic deformation. So awesome. Yeah, maybe I'll actually sell this. I didn't think it was going to look that good. Okay, so not in this video. Oh yeah, and like I said, it's good to have, if you have a dance, and one of my students, she has a nice little dance animation override that makes her stretch and stuff like that. So you definitely want to have some good animations. I have an old animation called Baywatch. And for some reason I can't hear the music. It has the Baywatch music from the old television show. Yeah. Now, and these are skin tight, and you're seeing some poke through as she's running. Now, when she's walking in sexy mode, you don't see any of the poke through. You are going to want to be giving out alphas, so they can wear alphas, so that when they wear these pants, they just wear the alphas with these pants, and you don't have to worry about poke through at all then. You know, every mesh, no matter how you rig it, will fail. There will be poke throughs when the joints are rotated far enough, unless you're using a mesh that is exactly the same vertice layout as the original mesh body, which you never get to have. So every mesh will fail, and even then, when it's slightly bigger, it still will fail at some point and have some poke through, because it's not the exact same shape, even though because it's bigger. So anyway, so yeah, it's supposed to be running like in the, for you who are old enough to remember Baywatch. That's what this is for. I don't know why it won't play the sound, the music. I've tried looking up here and it's not telling me. Yeah, so you're going to want to have some animations. But yeah, even so, I don't really see any poke through in the shirt. So that's pretty good. Probably because the legs are making a bigger motions than the shirt is. Okay. But yeah, but with a sexy walk, even the pants don't have any poke through. So, and if we do the avatar size, if I go to edit her shape, edit my shape, and go to torso, and go to make her, come on, a little bit farther, a little bit laggy. Breast size, there we go. See, if I make them bigger, no poke through. It's lagging out on me like crazy. So yeah, so there's no poke through. Unless you go really small like that. But yeah. And because we smooth the weights, we get a nice little deformation here, so that looks normal. So yeah, so awesome. Okay. Back to Maya. Okay, I'm not going to show it in this video, since this video is now 2 hours long. Oh my lord. This video is 2 hours long. In another video, a much shorter video, I'm going to show you how to duplicate these faces to the inside, so that you don't have, when people look up your top, you know, they don't see anything, you know, air. So actually I would probably duplicate all the way down to here instead of just duplicating to here, because yeah, if somebody happens to be looking up your shirt, which they're not supposed to, if you don't want them to see a blank sky, you want to have some of these faces in here. But you don't need all these faces on the back, except for the very bottom. The very bottom here, I would just go in one all the way along here, and then in here I would go up to there. I mean up into here. I'd probably go up to here. So anyway, that'll be another video. So awesome! So congratulations if you made it this long. I've given you all my secrets. And hopefully this will make rigging for you clothes and stuff a lot easier. If you want to send me a tip of gratitude in Second Life, you can send me a little something in my profile. It'd be very, very much appreciated. Not required, but yeah, it'd be, you know, very, very much appreciated. So awesome. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video.